Hi everyone and welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I'm going to talk about 5 things that I think that you should do before you turn 30. If you are new to my channel, I'm a lifestyle content creator. I do a lot of different review videos, home, travel. Recently was a homeowner, so that's kind of changed my perspective on a lot of things in life. There's a lot of videos out there that go into detail about some of the items I'm going to talk about today. This is advice that I would give myself. I would give, my younger brother as they are approaching these milestones in life. I am not in any way a financial advisor. So the first one you've probably already heard somewhere online, but that is to start a Roth IRA. And there's so many videos to break it down and there's so many different ways to do it. I currently use Fidelty as a Roth IRA. So I started my Roth IRA, unfortunately, a little bit later in life. So I ended up max capping it. So basically a Roth IRA allows you to put post-tax money into an account where you can invest it. And when you pull the money out of it, you also do not have to pay taxes on it because it's already post-tax. And unfortunately, the Roth IRA does cap at a certain salary and amount. So if you make more after a certain amount, you can no longer contribute to it past your incomes. Start a Roth IRA as early as you can. This is something I'd give like my 18-year-old self advice to start right away. The second thing that I would recommend doing is putting your money into an HSA if you can. Sometimes your employer will contribute to it. So if you can, put your money into an HSA, especially as you're younger and you might not need to use it as much, just start an HSA. The third one that I wish I did was putting my money into a high yield savings account. There's so many different options on like where to invest your money, where to put your money. People say, put it in a credit union, put it in a high yield. I made the mistake of not doing this earlier on because again, compound interest similar to the Roth IRA. I started putting my money into a certificate of deposit, which locks your money for a certain amount of time for a higher interest rate. And I also just used the regular savings rate that they have at commercial banks, like larger banks. And I barely got anything back. It's such a low percentage, so I didn't know where to put it. I just kind of tried a few different things. And now that I'm older, I really wish I put it into a high yield savings account that gave me a greater return. The one that I currently used, I recommend to all my friends and family. I'm not sponsored by them at all. Is Wealthfront. It's a smaller organization. The catch is that it's based on the market. So when interest rates go down, it goes down with it, but it's still a significantly higher rate than you would get at a bank. So I think right now in 2024, it's at like 4.5%. The previous year, ours was at like 6.5% because we had referred like my brother and my family members and friends. If you want to use my link, you can get a 0.5% APY boost, which means, rather than getting the current standard interest rate, you get a little bit higher, and that is temporary, but it's still better than nothing. And it's a really safe way to invest your money and let it do it for you. You don't have to think about it. You don't have to invest it or anything. It's still liquid because if you might need it, they have really great service. We actually used it to put our down payment in before we purchased our home. And then we used it to transfer and wire that down payment escrow amount. And they were really fast and it was free to wire it. We didn't have to pay for it. It was within like 24 hours. We just called them because they're a little bit smaller. They can give you checks. They give you a debit card. I made actually my partner do it first with his money because I didn't trust it. And then once I saw his returns, then we invested all of our savings accounts into Wealthfront. The next thing that I think that everyone should do before they turn 30, if they have assets or like any specific nuances to, their belongings, is to start a trust. I've gotten so many just recommendations from some of my older friends and coworkers to start a trust. And I always thought you had to have like a lot of money to start a trust. I never really understood it. All I heard was like 6-2 finance trust fund. But I thought it was like for rich people, like coming from someone who grew up in poverty and, was on Section 8 housing and like welfare programs. They don't teach you this type of information, nor do you think you ever really reach that milestone of even like owning a home or assets, of even like fully owning your car. So one thing is like to start a trust if you're starting to have assets. If you don't really have assets and you don't really know if a trust is for you, I would also recommend looking at a will. This is just, preparing for the worst case scenario and allowing yourself to have control over the process, even after you're not here, especially for your children or your family, whoever you pass and leave your money and assets to. And you can just clearly state what is available to your children and how and who can manage it. And it just makes the process a lot less of a headache after you pass away. And I recommend to create a living trust so that you can update it every single year as needed based on any changes in your circumstances or situation. I personally asked one of my coworkers who works in legacy and charitable giving for long-term gifts, his thoughts on it, because he was kind of an expert in gift planning and asset planning and management. And he recommended freewill.com to start the will or trust process. They have services for both. I think this really is a great way to introduce yourselves to something that might seem a little intimidating. It walks you through it, similar to like TurboTax and that kind of stuff. I think it's really important to discuss these things with your partner, or just to have yourself, think about these things in case something does happen to you. And this is a really great way to get the process started and then get it notarized at the end. But you can also take that original document and find a trust lawyer who specializes in it to review the process, and then add some more nuances and answer some of the questions that you might have. And then they can also help you with it every year as you're adjusting certain things within the contract. And that can be really helpful and a little bit more reassuring. So you've gotten through a lot of the long questions. You might be potentially spending less money if the lawyer is working on an hourly basis versus like a set price. So I think this is a great option for someone who might not know or want to start the process. The last thing that I recommend is when you're in your 20s and 30s, you're applying and getting a lot of jobs, moving up the ladder, what have you, will most likely happen is that you will switch or leave your job. So I recommend rolling over your IRA after you have left that job. What I had done with several of my accounts is I kind of left it there, and I just kept telling myself, oh, I'll do it when tax season comes around. I just never did it. And then one day I sat down within my account and called the customer service and tried to get it rolled over. And it was just such a long, tedious process because they had to get it approved from my previous employer that I hadn't spoken to in a while. Such a mess. And I wish I had done it sooner because, again, it is money that is invested into your retirement that grows. So you want to make sure that it's working for you as much as possible. So one thing I recommend is using HiCapitalize to roll over your 401ks just a little bit in an easier process. It's streamlined. They help manage the rollover, and it's so much less of a headache. I have a link in my bio for not only Capitalize, but Wealthfront as well. And again, none of this is sponsored. This is just me wanting to make this video for all my younger internet siblings out there who are also, living parallels with what I am now. I also think it's just educational information for other people who might feel overwhelmed as well, in a very quick and easy things you can do, hopefully by the time you're 30. I hope these things are helpful. I hope they're educational and inspire you and empower you to do this, over the weekend. Add it to your 2025 vision board, put it on the calendar, get it done. I promise you, even if you just do the first step, it's going to get you that much closer to building your net worth and building your assets for yourself, creating wealth for your family. So those are the top 5 things that I think you should do before you turn 30. Dive deeper into this information so that you can retire, hopefully when Social Security runs out when we're old enough. If you like this video, I hope you subscribe because that allows me to make more content for free, and it tells me, what videos are working and which ones are not. Hopefully you stay around. Thanks.